You have done the Notions Orange Belt, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done all of them. There's a couple
I have.
edits in each one. I still got to go back and make. But
I have to go back and get my orange belt. I have to see. No, I've got orange belt. What was it? Is white?
blue, white, orange, and blue. So you're probably on
White.
the blue. The blue is the database section.
And the orange is the last one.
No, orange is the second one.
Second
Blue,
one. So I haven't.
white, orange, and blue. White is the first
So
one.
all right. I haven't got the blue. I'll have to go and get that. Bank Huddle Thrive. By the way, while I'm doing this calendar, the Thrive coin, right? Do we have a proper working, like PowerPoints and stuff like that? Is everything done? Why should I asking you? I just click that and I should know.
No, it's like 50% done. Originally, well, Joe was bringing Steph into the ThriveCoin workstream to try to get the how-to wiki essentially written.
Yeah.
And we had miscommunication for a couple weeks, and essentially, I think now she's like pulled away from the project, so we're basically back to whenever I got time working on it.
So is anyone else doing that then? Oh dear.
Not
It's
really, no.
oh dear.
Um,
Okay. So I'm
but
not
I
going to
did
put.
confirm. I was hoping to get the PowerPoint theme from ThriveCoin. Sounds like they're going to be changing their branding and stuff, so their slides are less useful than I was hoping they would be.
Okay.
But I have, I think, like I said, the outline pretty much done. So all I got to do is go back through it again, probably with somebody else that wants to learn Thrive and do, basically do it a dry run, do edits, because it's pretty short, do edits, during the dry run, and then update the theme, and it should be good to go.
Okay. So do I put it in? I'll put it towards the end. So hopefully it'll be done. So are you saying we have governator? We have governator and we have governance. I'm just going to go through the.
Are you looking at the calendar?
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar because I want to repeat some of it and I need to figure out which one is the one I want to put later and which one is the one I want to put. So we got quite a bit, so we got to put things that I think people would be interested in and maybe even out the others.
Yeah.
Like the liquidity pool, maybe, once a season we do a liquidity pool. But the others, like what is bank and DeFi knowledge session? What is that? That's for tomorrow.
So this is where we were trying to get some clarity around our it's basically just Uniswap. It's
Okay.
the bank token and balancer or Uniswap. That's Paulito's, who's not very good at updating his
Wait,
Notion.
so, but Paulito is doing balancer, right? Or is he doing Uniswap?
It's bank and balancer is what it is.
It's bank and balancer because I think Aloy is doing the Uniswap one, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or Aloy is doing Uniswap.
Yeah,
So
originally I had a question because we were like, okay, well, we're not really doing anything on Balancer anymore. Um, we're not really. We do kind of teach, I guess, Uniswap v3, but we're not teaching about Arrakis, which is the pool that
Yes.
it actually makes sense to teach.
Yep.
And yeah, given all that, and then the basics liquidity, if this is like the basic, if the liquidity pools knowledge session is the like 101, and then are we going to go into Uniswap v3, is like a, 150, and Arrakis, how do we want to structure that? But I think Arrakis would be better than Balancer. And then
I
essentially that
there's
expands on Uniswap v3.
Uniswap v3, correct. So,
And that's
but
the direction the DAO is going to. We're not wanting to be. It's easier for to recognize voting weight if we're just like Uniswap. Anything on Uniswap is good, you know.
yeah. Wait, how do I get, if I want to add an item, how do I get into the templates then?
When you
So if I
open
add,
up it, you'll have a list of the templates before you put anything on the
okay,
page, and you just pick the one that's your thing.
you just add an item, right? And then go down to, there you go, got it, got it. All right, okay, there are a few people here, so let's see whether they're here for the, let me go back to
Oh,
the,
I'll talk to them in Discord.
okay, all right, now set it up here.
Yeah, if you folks are here for the liquidity pools knowledge session, we have a link to the Zep in the water cooler chat. I can drop it in the media chat as well. But feel free to join us in Zep, and we'll get started shortly. You can also find the link to the Zep Space in the calendar event as well. We're posting them there now. Bam. There we go. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. If you haven't been to Zep before, in the top right-hand corner is your profile. You can change your name, what your avatar looks like. Um, you'll notice that sound works in proximity. So if you are not near somebody or you're not sitting at the table that folks are sitting at, you won't hear them. Usually encourage everybody to go sit on the rug so we can all hear each other. Yep, okay. I'm gonna join the rug. Yeah. So you wanna join us on the rug as soon as you get your avatar straightened out.
Just get onto the rug and you'll be able to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, there whoop. Yep. So you'll only be able to hear us on the rug.
Where is he going?
I just figured out how to jump.
I got it. There you go. There you go. So can you, Wolverine and Koladi, can you hear us?
Yep. And you can use X to sit.
X to
Yeah.
sit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. Hold on. Let me get to. Ah, that's so cute. Let me go get Koladi anyway.
Mhm.
I don't think he can hear me.
Yeah. If you just want to make sure, Kool-Aid, that you're on the rug, that way you'll be able to hear us and hear the presentation.
Hi, Wolverine. So this how-to session is on. Oh dear, we need to get Kulad in here.
Yeah. We're gonna start. If you want to get on the rug, you'll be able to hear. And King is here. Welcome, King.
Hi, King. Or is it still just?
Kool-Aid's been here before. He knows.
Ah, okay. He knows what to do.
He should.
All right, let's. This is my first time doing a shared screen on Zep, so let me know if things don't go to plan. Okay, let's start. It's already 3:10. So this how-to session is a very basic introduction to liquidity pools. Liquidity pools is a way that the Web3 community exchanges tokens. That means if you want to swap a token in a protocol, then this is what most of the exchanges on the Web3 use. The biggest one that all of us know is Uniswap, but there's also like Curve and Balancer, and they all use liquidity pools to allow people to exchange tokens. So this how to gives you a really 101 simple uh, construct of how a liquidity pool works. So the objective of this how to, you understand what is liquidity and how liquidity pools work both in the TradFi world and in the DeFi world. We also cover a little bit about the risks associated with liquidity pools. Understand what a LP token is, a liquidity pool token is, and how they work. And then try to use this information to maybe go and put your bank into places like Uniswap and Balancer. And I think those are the only two that the bank works on. Our bank token, I mean. So, not going to go there. So, what is liquidity? Liquidity is basically how quickly you can change assets among themselves or with actual cash. So it is the degree to which an asset can be bought or sold without affecting the asset price. So in as an example to what happened last week, the USDC coin there was a shortage of liquidity because sorry, there was an excess of liquidity because people were trying to get rid of their coins because the coin was going down, but they could not sell it for what it was worth in the market. So that is what we call a problem with liquidity. Okay, we'll explain it a little bit more further down. So what makes something liquid? Something is liquid when you can sell it without using the value. So if you the most liquid thing that we have is cash. So anybody and everybody will want cash for anything that you have to exchange. And the cash doesn't lose value, or at least face value, 1:1. So theoretically speaking, in the TradFi world, the the commerce of TradFi works because there is money going through it. It may not be physical cash. That's the most liquid, but the second most liquid would usually be like cash in your bank or your checking account. In the DeFi world, liquidity is slightly different because it can be between tokens or between stable coins. But there has to be something which is liquid for the DeFi market to work. So, liquidity in the TradFi world, it is between assets and dollar, the money that you get. So, this is an interesting thing about liquidity. It is the ability to turn an asset into cash. It has to be easy. It can be done immediately. It should not cost anything, and it goes for what it is worth. And if you meet all those four criteria, then you have a liquid asset. So liquid assets, if you look in the box on the left hand side, it's cash, that's the most liquid, money markets, it's bonds, stocks, ETFs. They are all liquid, although with a caveat: if the market is dropping, then ETFs and stocks and bonds have got a serious problem, which was what happened with the Silvergate Bank issue. The Silvergate Bank issue involved the lack of liquidity in the bonds. Now, in an illiquid asset, then it is you can sell it, but you don't have that many buyers. So you have to go out and find the buyers, and it is not going to be instantaneous. It's not going to be quick. And those are the things like arts and real estate and coin collection and antiques. These sort of things are what they call illiquid assets in the TradFi world. So, what is the liquidity in a DeFi world? Is the ability of a coin or token to be easily exchanged or converted either into cash, which goes back into the DeFi and sorry, the TradFi world, or into other coins. So one of the most liquid things that we have in the DeFi world is things like what do you call it, ETH, all right, or Ethereum, or DAI, or stable coins like USDC, because people are willing to change into those very quickly because that's what they want. It's something that is very, very popular, right? What makes a liquid market, what makes the asset or the market liquid is you have many buyers and many sellers for that asset or a token pair. So, like ETH, Bitcoin pair, all right, it is liquid. There are always people trying to change between it. So, ETH DAI is liquid, ETH USDC is liquid. So, it's because there are many people who want it and there are many people who are willing to buy it. That's a liquid market. You need a lot of people. So, in the DeFi world, that's what we're trying to grow. We're trying to grow the number of people who would like to buy our cryptocurrencies. And the bigger the pool of people who want to buy and sell, the bigger our market is going to grow. Now, how do things get exchanged in the TradFi world? Usually, if you have a barter system, then you take your cash, you go to somebody and you buy it. But in the commercial world, there is somebody called a market maker, and who is a person or a software that's written by a person, and he is the one that connects a buyer to a seller. So, so basically, if somebody wants to buy an Apple share, they need to find somebody who wants to sell the Apple share, and this is usually done on the exchange. But within the exchange, they have something called a market maker that actually does the trade. They find the buyer and they find the sellers. In online markets, it's a lot easier, of course, right now, but there's still always a market maker. So somebody there should never be an instance where there is no buyer or seller. So if there is something happens to the market and there's no buyer or seller, then the market maker comes in and does what they call make the market. Then he will offer the buyer a price and he will offer the seller a price. It could be much, much lower than what the dollar is worth, but at least there is a market for it. There is a buyer and the seller. By the way, if I'm getting into the weeds, please stop me and I'll try to explain it a little better. Now, in the DeFi world, we're trying to get away from an agent. We're trying to get away from somebody that has to control our money. So, in the DeFi world, Uniswap was one of the first to actually do it, which is why I'm using it as an example. They came up with a protocol that basically creates what we call a liquidity pool. We the people on the outside who have these tokens, put them into a liquidity pool. And the first one, the one that I'm going to be talking about, is a one-to-one liquidity pool. So the liquidity pool has two tokens. So we outside, we don't depend on any market maker. The people outside contribute to the liquidity pool, and that liquidity pool is where a buyer and a seller go in and take the product and take whatever that they want. So AMM is called automated market maker. So that is what we are striving to in the DeFi world. So nobody controls us. The market controls the price of what we're trying to buy. Risk. So liquidity pools have got risks, okay? And I'm talking about the DeFi liquidity pool. And the three major risks of a DeFi liquidity pool is what they call protocol risk, impermanent loss risk, and slippage risk. And you'll always hear this when you hear talk about liquidity pools. So protocol risk is the easiest to explain. When a liquidity pool is created, a protocol or a contract is written, and that contract controls how the liquidity pool works. So if there is an error in the code, that can be exploited. And I'm sure all of us have got lots of stories about how an error in a protocol was exploited. So that is protocol risk. Impermanent loss risk is a little bit more complicated to explain, but I'm using a very simplified method. Is when you add to a liquidity pool, you deposit equal value of two different tokens, and that equal value must multiply to the same number all the time, which is K. So you have a token A multiplied by a token B, value wise, I'm saying, token A value multiplied by token B, and whatever the price of token A and token B is as they shift will be equal to K. And this formula is called the constant product formula. So K will always remain constant. And the things that change is the value of the A and the B. And I'll be showing you an example to make it simple. So let me just say, Jane, right now in the world, 1 ETH is equals to 100 DAI. So she puts in a total of 200 ETH. 1 ETH and 1 DAI, which is a total of $200. Okay, let's just assume that. So it's like a $100 worth of ETH and $100 worth of DAI. DAI is 1-to-1 with the US dollar. So it's $200 she puts in. She puts it into a liquidity pool, and this liquidity pool has got two tokens, an ETH token and a DAI token. And it's in the same proportion. So if you have 10 ETH, you must have 1,000 DAI, because 1 ETH is equals to 100 DAI. So the total value in this pool is $2,000 in US dollars. So Jane owns 10% of this liquidity pool. And please keep in mind, we're now trying to explain what impermanent loss is. So the constant formula that I showed you just now, A times B equals K, in this particular case, in this liquidity pool, is 1,000. That's your constant. So this makes 1 ETH equals to 100 DAI. So let's say in the market something's happened and the price of ETH changes. And the price of ETH is now 1 ETH is equals to 400 DAI. When this happens in the market, people are definitely going to rush to this liquidity pool to get what you call it, buy 1 ETH, right? Which they can exchange for 400 DAI. So when this thing exists in the market, and this is also in the TradFi market, when there is a disconnect between what the market is saying and what the liquidity pool is saying, and there is an opportunity to make a profit, that is called an arbitrage opportunity. And arbitrageurs will very quickly come in and make that profit. And after that, everything goes back to balance. And that small little window of time is where people make money. I mean, you need to have a lot of, how do you say, information to make this, but this is how the usual market works. So arbitrageurs will come into the pool and they will start buying ETH. Of course, they want the ETH because the ETH is now worth 400 DAI. But very quickly, the pool ratio changes. And the pool ratio will come down to what the market says it is. So in the end, the arbitrageurs, after they've bought the ETH, they've brought the amount of DAI and ETH into the same ratio as what it is in the market. So it comes down to 5 ETH multiplied by 200 DAI. And multiplied by 2,000 DAI. And so 5 times 2,000 is still equals to a constant. That constant never changes. That's what you need to understand. So this means if you have 5 ETH in the pool and 2,000 DAI in the pool, 2,000 divided by 5 is 400, which means 1 ETH is equals to 400 DAI, which is the market value of the DAI, market value of the ETH, sorry. Okay, so it brings it down to the correct value of what the market says it is. So why am I showing you all of this? Because now if Jane then removes her percentage of what she put in 10%, correct? So now she wants to remove her 10%. Technically speaking, she's only going to get 0.5 ETH and 200 DAI. Don't forget, she put in 1 ETH and 100 DAI, which is 10%. Now that the liquidity pool has been evened off, her 10% is worth 0.5 ETH and 200 DAI. What we need to understand is, did she make a profit or a loss? So originally she put in 200 and she got out 400. This is what she put into the liquidity pool. Now this is where the impermanent loss comes in. If she had not put it in the liquidity pool, oh, by the way, she has made a profit, okay? She put in 2,000, she got out 4,000. So why are we talking about impermanent loss? She's actually made a profit. Correct, she has made a profit. But if she had not put it into the liquidity pool, if she had hodled it, she would still have 1 ETH, her original one, plus 100 DAI. And if you convert that into dollars, she has actually would have had $500 instead of $400. This difference between hodling and putting it into the liquidity pool is impermanent loss. So technically speaking, even though she has made a profit, she has lost $100 because she would have made more if she had hodled. And that is a simple explanation of impermanent loss. Any questions? If I go further? Okay. You can still hear me, right? Okay, great. Okay, good. Yes, it is. Exactly. But then you don't know though, because unless you can only take a risk. But then the liquidity pools seem to be good simply because this is a pure thing, what I'm showing you against liquidity pools and hodling. It doesn't really mean that if you hodl as opposed to liquidity pools, you are going to make more money than if you do liquidity pools. And I'll show you that in a little while. So this is the basics. They make a big deal about impermanent loss, but it really is not that big a deal because liquidity pools depends on the percentage of what you put in. What I showed you was 50-50. So ETH was 50% value and DAI was 50% value. Now, if it's 50-50, then the impermanent loss is higher. The probability that you're going to make an impermanent loss is higher. But people like Balancer then decided that, hey, hang on, why don't we change the percentage and put in more ETH and less DAI? So they did an 80-20. So if you see this, the impermanent loss is less when you do an 80-20 percentage. So it keeps getting less and less, which is obvious, right? Because you're almost purely holding the token. If you put more and more of the more valued token against the less valued token, or the more, how do you say, the more token that everybody wants, which is the ETH. So this is a very, very famous, very, very popular impermanent loss graph. Now, somebody said, is there ever a chance that you will get a profit instead of a loss? And the answer is no. You will never, ever get more than if you hodl. It doesn't work that way in a pure liquidity pool. So the question everybody is going to ask is, why bother? Why put it in a liquidity pool? What when we can just hodl, and I know for a guarantee that whatever happens in the world, it'll be more. It'll There will never be an impermanent loss. The thing is, in a liquidity pool, there are other things that are happening. Okay, because if you put something in a liquidity pool, you actually, so I'm talking about you as a person who contributes to the liquidity pool. If you put something there, you will actually also get fees, which is over and above the impermanent loss. Why? Because if somebody wants to buy DAI, when they come into the pool to buy the DAI, Uniswap will charge a small fee. And that fee will go to Uniswap a little bit, but it will also go to the people who provide the liquidity. So you are actually gaining money in the fees. Okay, so and they have shown this graph shows that even though there is losses and an impermanent loss, right? So you have losses, you have fees, and you have net position. So even though you have impermanent loss, your fees will actually sometimes overcome the impermanent loss, and you will actually be making money. So in the pure example that I showed between liquidity pool and hodl, hodl is hodl is technically better. But people put it into the liquidity pool because they do get fees. And the accumulated fees are actually the one that's gonna what do you call it, give you the advantage of using liquidity pools. Okay, so this is a very interesting one. This is actually ETH DAI, and they show you that actually no, you do get more than what you put in for liquidity pools. But there's another reason why people put it. Oh, let me explain one more before I go. Slippage. So I've given you three risks. One is the protocol risk, one is the impermanent loss risk, one is slippage. So slippage is very simple. Slippage, you guys do it whenever you change, you swap anything with in MetaMask, or you swap anything on any exchange. They ask you for slippage. They ask you what slippage are you willing to take. That means that by the time your order goes in And by the time your order is executed, the price can change because this is a very, very fluid market. So they are saying, how much of slippage are you willing to take? Now, if you're willing to take a very tight range of slippage, your order might not even go through. But if you're willing to take a bigger range of slippage, then what you put in your order at and what you expect to get may not be exactly the price you get. So you can control your slippage, but the problem is slippage does exist. So that is, but slippage is anywhere, not exact, not specifically to liquidity pools. So slippage exists. So it's not, be aware of the fact that these risks do exist. That's all they're saying. Okay, but there is another aspect to liquidity pools, and that is the LP tokens. So you provide liquidity to the pool, which is this arrow here. You're providing liquidity. So this is the liquidity pools. And every time you go into like Uniswap or to Balancer and you provide liquidity, they will give you something called the LP tokens. This LP token is the proof that you've provided liquidity and you own some of the liquidity in that pool. And the LP tokens are the ones sometimes people use to reinvest. And there are lots of places that you can reinvest your LP tokens. You can reinvest into staking opportunities within the protocol, or you can take these and go and do farming or yield farming in other protocols that allow this LP tokens. Um, Bankless, uh, the Bankless token actually had a really good LP token staking in Olympus quite a while ago, but it's already past its time, and we're hoping to be able to do these going forward. So if you provide bank liquidity, you should be able to take your LP tokens and get some extra money somewhere. So this is the other reason lots of people like liquidity because of the LP tokens and the variety of investments that you can do with LP tokens. Okay. And so the bank liquidity pools, actually, I don't think we have Uniswap anymore, do we, Ernest? I think we've, I have to change this because we don't have Uniswap. We don't have, oh, sorry, lost it.
You mean on V2?
No, the Uniswap, sorry, Sushi Swap, no, we no longer have.
Sushi Swap.
We,
Um, yeah, the tokenomics weekly. So there are some other pools out there that other folks have set up other than us. Um, so the sushi swap pool may still exist. We should double check it. I'll double check
yeah,
it.
we'll double check it. We'll double check it.
Um,
But
but it's not a farm, right? So
it's not a farm, no.
that's the
So,
other thing. Other than fees, right? The reason why people get into liquidity pools is those LP tokens, and
LP tokens, yeah,
sometimes people like BanklessDAO will give you rewards or additional bank tokens for having those LP tokens, essentially, for
correct.
providing the liquidity. But when that reward, that farm runs out, then that, they're the farming is never like infinite. It's usually always dependent on, a given amount of rewards that are allocated.
And then they dry up.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, yield farming was a big thing a few seasons ago, I think, but it's sort of calmed down right now. But there is so much out there. But bank, the main place that you can actually deposit your bank into a liquidity pool is the Uniswap. The Uniswap, they have V2 and they have V3. The best right now is Uniswap V3, but it is not through Uniswap. It is through a third party called Arrakis, which that's why I don't want to get into too much over here. You can actually go into Uniswap V3 and put your bank in there. And now instead of getting an LP, they have now changed it. You get what they call an NFT. The NFT is the proof that you have got this particular LP. Now, the difference between Uniswap 2 and Uniswap V3 is what they call concentrated liquidity. That is a whole different subject. But in V2, when you put your bank into the liquidity pool, you are going for the whole range of what the ratio can be. If that means you're going from 0 to 1,000, that means your DAI can go from 0 to 1,000. But in V3, you decide which range you think the DAI and ETH is going to trade at. So if it trades within that range, then you get higher fees. If it trades outside that range, you don't get fees. So this is the incentive of V3. So you get more money if you get the range right. But we are not good at doing that because we cannot, if we want to play the range, it's very difficult because we feel that, oh, all of a sudden the range has moved and we want to change our range. Then we have to sell our NFT and buy a new NFT for that range. And so that's going to cause fees and it does not make it viable. So Arrakis is a protocol that basically helps people manage the concentrated range. And they are giving quite good percentages from there. So, but the only disadvantage is it is third party. So third party, but they will help you organize and coordinate and control your concentrated liquidity to give you, I think it's 6% right now Arrakis is doing right now.
High
But
sixes.
we do have a how-to session that will probably teach you about Arrakis and how to actually get liquidity into the Uniswap. We also have um, bank in Balancer, both on the main net and on the Balancer Polygon net. But unfortunately, it's not very active simply because there was a change in the rules of how the Balancer pool distributes its rewards. So again, a bit more complicated. The what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, that's about it. So the balancer and the polygon. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Now, if you have bank right now, there is going to be a change in the system, but usually, if you had bank and you actually went and put your bank into this pool, you were still eligible to count that bank towards your 35K L1 bank requirement. But I think that's going to change next season, correct, Ernest? They're going to
Uh,
doing the
it'll still be this way for a season. The TL Bank looks like it is being approved in the forums, so the only additional thing is that we'll recognize people who lock up bank for a given period of time, in addition to recognizing people's
okay.
35,000 that may be in a liquidity pool.
Liquidity pool. Yeah. So
Um,
that's something that's being discussed right now. So won't go too much into it. So in the how-to sessions, we do have a session on the Uniswap to show you exactly how to use the Uniswap pool and also the balancer. Um, I think we touch on Arrakis, but I think we need to concentrate a little bit more on the Arrakis because that's where you get most of the returns. And that's all I have for the Liquidity Pool 101. It's been very, very quiet. Does anybody have any questions? This is very, very theoretical. I'm sorry, but it is important because this is some of the things that the Web3 runs on. You don't need to know the details. You just need to be aware of the risks that you're taking when you do this and the possibilities because you got LP tokens with a liquidity pool. Any questions? Very quiet.
pretty good to me. Um,
Oh, King's left. Hippolyte, with any questions? Collard, any questions? Okay, let me put it another way. Was it useful to know this? Because we at the education department are also trying to streamline what people would be interested in. It is important to know about what people would be interested in. So it would be great if you guys could feedback whether you felt that this was a knowledge that was important to you. Okay.
Right, folks.
GM.
On my end, there is no question, but also we found it difficult hearing you. Like the volume was very, very low.
Oh, was
I
that?
don't know. I don't know if others can even hear you. But
How's my volume? How's my
okay.
volume now?
Wow.
Okay, it's better now. It's better.
See, that's it. I was using a speaker, and I think next time I won't use the speaker.
You are very audible now, unlike before. During the session, we were finding it difficult to hear you.
Oh, somebody should have said something. I would have taken it off earlier. But is there something you'd like me to repeat?
No. I was using my Bluetooth and I was quite hearing you, but it was no. I don't want you to repeat anything. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. So, Hippolyte, can I ask you a question? Did you think something like this would be of interest to people? Let me ask you another question. Did you know about how liquidity pools work before the session?
I didn't really know much about liquidity pool. I didn't really know much about it.
Okay.
But for in terms of interest, I didn't find it that much interesting for my end as someone who is basically new into the Web3 space and trying to find my way around. I think it's kind of a bit theoretical, as you said.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's my own feedback.
Good. Thank you.
Would it be helpful if we had every week in the tokenomics group we review the liquidity positions that the DAO is in. So I understand, like, if you're not in DeFi, right, it's kind of not that relatable. But everybody that's in the DAO actually is involved in the DAO being a market maker. That's essentially what the DAO does. That's one of the, we have a token, we create a market for it, and so I can get some of that data to include as an example in the course, and then of course over time too, and that'll show how much, because in the forum posts right now, in the forums, we're trying to get permission from DAO members to pull our fees from Uniswap, right, into the DAO multisig, right? So, and it's like 10 ETH and $1 million plus bank, right? 80-20.
Wow.
So
Actually, that's a good idea, Ernest. I think it also shows that there is something real that's going on based on liquidity pools that the DAO is actually working on. I know that information exists. I was with tokenomics before, but yeah, I'll probably, if we could pull that in, that would help going forward.
yeah, let me make a note.
Koladi, do you have any feedback?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm fine.
All right. Thank you. All right, I think that's all we have. I think Ernest is going to try and pull that information to make it a little bit more real.